All right. Officer down! Officer down! Bang! There goes another one. Except this time they did not kill themselves from a gunshot. SJ officer, former SJSU football star Dejon Packer died from, quote, fentanyl toxicity, coroner says. So the reason why I'm talking about this, well, multitude of reasons. One of them, another cop is dead. Hallelujah. Second of all, even the cops, like the cop response to this is incredible. This is incredible. And I say that in this literal sense, like as in it lacks credibility. Like there's no way this shit is true. All right. San Joe's Caliph, Kugo. Dejon Packer, a rookie San Joe's police officer and former San Joe's state football star who died at his Milpitas home last month, passed due to, quote, fentanyl toxicity. Santa Clara County medical examiner confirmed to ABC 7 News. So, okay. First of all, I want to say this. Okay? Like, this is a situation, quote unquote, substance abuse, right? The idea that I'm gonna argue honestly that at least 50% of police officers have drug addiction problems, whether that be alcohol, whether that be caffeine, whether that be harder drugs like maybe cocaine or other sorts of stuff like fentanyl, right? I would be shocked if honestly, and this now at least 50% if I'm being objective. If I'm being subjective, right? I'm going to say probably closer to 95% of police have drug addiction problems. Now, again, I know a lot of police officers in my personal life. I have a couple in my family, and they're all fucking psychos, right? So I'm just saying, right? Anyway, let's keep this in mind. So this person died of a substance use issue, a medical condition, by the way. Also, they were a cop, and yet they were doing drugs. Isn't that crazy? In a statement, Chief Matta promised accountability. Wait, what? What? Accountability? What does that mean, accountability? Like, they never demand accountability when a cop kills someone, right? Like, a cop brings out a gun and shoots a black man in the back of the head as they're running away. Accountability, I don't know what you're talking about. But a police officer commits suicide via drug addiction, and all of a sudden, there needs to be accountability? To who? For who? They're dead. They're no longer alive. Like, where's the accountability? Right? But again, this is why I wanted to cover this one, because again, this is fascinating to see the police response to this. Any allegation of illegal drug use by a San Joe's police officer is concerning. There are no free passes for police officers, and we will not make excuses. Think about how deranged. Think about how fucking deranged these motherfuckers are. Their coworker has a medical condition and dies, presumably, because of a bad batch of whatever they were buying that was cut with fentanyl, and they didn't know that they were buying fentanyl. Typically, that's how fentanyl poisoning and overdoses happen. They think they're buying another sort of drug. It was cut with fentanyl, has a higher percentage than they're used to. You know, they really want to rush, so they go like with a dose that they're familiar with, but it turns out because of the fentanyl, it's a much higher dose than they're familiar with. It causes a reaction. They end up dying. Right now, again, why are drugs cut with fentanyl? Why are others, like cocaine is cut with fentanyl, meth is cut with fentanyl, stuff like heroin is obviously cut with fentanyl. So why are all of these drugs being cut with fentanyl? Why? Oh, because of the drug war. Because cops in this country decide to spend their lives, sending people to steel cages over substances. It creates a black market without any regulation that results in people cutting costs in corners, that results in people getting bad batches of drugs that happen to have higher traces of fentanyl because it's cheaper to acquire fentanyl, especially from Chinese manufacturers via the USPS and international mailing, right? It's cheaper to acquire fentanyl than to actually use the, 100% of just the drug, right? Why use 100% of whatever drug you're selling to someone when you could make it like 60-40 or, even 90-10, right? Any ratio, it's all cutthroat capitalism on the black market, right? So notice the irony, by the way, of a police officer who spends their life deciding to throw people in steel cages like a lunatic fascist, and then they end up getting killed by the system that they uphold and preserve and protect. And then police have the audacity, they don't view even each other. I mean, like, I think it's very obvious to note I don't know what this video has to say, but the photo, DeJohn Packer is a black man. If this were a white person, I feel like the police would have acted differently. But because, really it boils down to what do cops hate more? Black people or cops, right? They hate black people more than anyone else. And so obviously their coworker being black, in my estimation, right, especially given what we know from California police departments, from my estimation, if this were a white guy in his 60s who died of alcohol poisoning, or let's say it was a white guy in their 70s who died from cocaine or something, would they really say the same thing for that? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. So anyway, so the San Jose police officers, right, the chief is talking about accountability. We need accountability for the guy who's dead. What does that mean, accountability? I don't understand. A San Jose police officer was found dead in his home over the weekend in South Bay. The officer said to be 24-year-old former San Jose state football player DeJohn Packer, a graduate of SJPD Academy in 2021. Imagine going through the year 2020 and then deciding to yourself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become a police officer. Like, you go through the year of 2020, right? You see everything that happens throughout 2020, and your takeaway is, fuck yeah, I'm going to become a cop. Fuck yeah. Hey. Okay. Milpitas said, police said the ABC7 News that Packer was off duty when he was found dead in his home Sunday afternoon. It is a difficult day here at the police department today for a lot of us, SJPD Sergeant Christian Camarillo said. Everyone is heartbroken for Pac, for his family, and for our football family here because he had a tremendous impact on everyone he met. SJSU football head coach Brent Brennan said, interesting, by the way, that everyone else who knows this person, right, is like, oh my God, they're heartbroken, as they should be. But the official police chief statement is like tough on drugs. Like you shouldn't have been doing drugs, kid. Right? Isn't it crazy, right, that everyone in this guy's personal life have the correct human reaction, right, to this situation, and yet the police who caused this officer to die, right, the very nature of policing in this country creates stuff like fentanyl, creates stuff like poisoning, creates things like overdosing. Without policing, without drug enforcement, law enforcement like that, for drugs, none of that stuff would have happened. So again, it's insane to me. It's insane. And the reason why I covered this story is, one, I think it's a good thing when people stop becoming police officers. I think I treat policing in this country as a zero-sum situation. The less amount of people that are at the job, the better for all of us. So in that scenario, officer down, bing, bang, boom. I would have preferred if they retired and went to live on a perfectly healthy life. Unfortunately, that is not the case. But again, it really is insane to me that police hate their coworkers so much, and especially, and again, I'm just assuming, right, that, like, if this was like a 70-year-old retired police chief who had like a fucking, cocaine habit or something and ended up dying of this, I guarantee you this would have been written in a different fashion. I'm just saying, I think it's fascinating that police hate each other so much that when they all have addiction problems, it's just they all try not to talk about it, right? What do you think happens? You see all of these stories of police evidence lockers, drugs mysteriously disappearing from the evidence lockers. I wonder how that's happening, right? So again, it's horrifying, it's sad when people die of drug overdoses, but it needs to be underscored that police are the problem. Without police, there would be no such thing as fentanyl poisoning, right? Without drug laws as they are constituted, there would be no such thing about fentanyl poisoning. Why? Because you could go to a regulated dispensary for the drug of your choice and get one, get what you know, get something and you know what's in it, as opposed to buying something and whoops, it has fentanyl in it. Again, this is a situation completely avoidable, except that we organize our society in a way that puts people in steel cages for medical issues. If someone had a rash, right, on their back or something, and it was like very painful, would we like say it's a good thing that they died because they had a medical issue? Like, let's say they died, they scratched their rash and then, they bled out or something. Oh, it's a good thing he died. He had a medical condition. He had to die. If someone has cancer, do we go around after they die of cancer and go say like, God damn, I'm glad they're dead. They need to be held accountable for having a medical condition. Why do we only do this with drugs? When people have eating disorders, right, do people go like, oh, I'm glad that they're dead because because they had an eating disorder, therefore they deserve to die. They had a medical condition, so therefore death penalty. Am I right, people? Only with drugs and only with cops do people feel like it's okay to be like, oh, we need to hold these people accountable for dying of a medical condition. It's insane. It's insane. And the reason, again, why I wanted to underscore this story is because the police response is horrifying. It's horrifying that this is how cops view their own people. Look at this. Our police family is devastated by the sudden loss of Officer DeJohn, blah, 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 right? And then, but look at this tweet. If you look at this tweet, right, it goes on to carry that public statement of some kind. Right? Like, again, it's like, I don't know, man. It's unfortunate that someone dies. It's fortunate that the person who died was a cop. I'd rather a cop die from a drug overdose than anyone who's not an oppressive fascist bootlicker. But again, this is just how police treat each other. This is how they act. This is how they behave. And on the, DeJohn himself, again, imagine the irony of dedicating your life to throwing innocent black people in jail and steel cages for using drugs when you yourself are a drug user. Isn't that fucking crazy? But that's not new. That's not special. That's not anything, that this is just the standard police behavior. They're all hypocrites. They're all jackbooted thugs, and they're all evil, plain and simple. And anyone who's trying to, peddle some any bullshit about that, I'm sorry. I don't care about that. But there you go.